is going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. So, a little bit of a, I guess, side note for the moment. I am on a new platform right now. We are using Restream instead of StreamYard. So, a little bit of funkiness going on there. And through the graciousness of the Gerald over there at Simply Cyber, we are now restreaming on Simply Cyber as well. So I did promise him I will keep um, the spiciness to a minimum, as those who follow me know that I am typically willingly able to drop some profound language. So to be respectful of other people, I will definitely keep that down. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. So today, if y'all missed the email from CISA, they did release a new alert that did come out, and I want to really get into this and kind of show everybody, just so everybody understands exactly what it is and kind of a little bit of my takes on this one, right? So they did put out an alert, AA22-074 alpha, where they talk about threat actors are gaining access to your network and potentially using things like the PrintNightmare exploit and bypassing MFA. And we're going to dig deep, a little bit deep on the MFA thing. So they specifically mentioned here that the NGO group is using the exploits to go past Cisco Duo MFA. So if those who don't know, a lot of MSPs will use Cisco's MFA because it is a very well versed MFA platform, right? It ties in with your Azure, your local Active Directory. You can tie in, a lot of the MSP tools, Datto, LabTech. There's a whole slew that their application logs or application directory is pretty extensive, especially in the MSP and a lot of the enterprise like Salesforce and things of that nature. So they do have a very good very good following, or well, not following, but integrations, if you will. So seeing that, again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I see you in there. So thanks for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Like I said, multicasting is kind of cool. But to go into this, PrintNightmare was literally released about what, a year ago, maybe now. I didn't get a chance to really look it up before going on live. I really wanted to get this thing out today because it is released today, and I try to be as fresh as I can. But uh, there was, if memory serves me correctly, there was originally the PrintNightmare. The people who researched it and put out that essentially a 0-day vulnerability out on Twitter, they went through, and it went through like 3 or 4 renditions before I think it's finally patched. I'm not 100% sure. There was always some speculation if PrintNightmare was actually patched or not. A lot of people were saying, go to Windows 11, that will, bypass or be able to get rid of PrintNightmare. I don't have any insights on that at all. It's really one of those things that unless you actually need a print server, please don't do it. But most enterprises do. A lot of small, medium businesses do. Definitely not run a workstation with shared printers if you can. Put it all into one print server and distribute it from there. So at least you have one point of vulnerability. You don't have 20 workstations sharing out printers and essentially having 20 points of vulnerability, right? So going through this, we see, they're going through and they're laying out, the typical MITRE, not to downplay it, but they're going through the MITRE attack framework, showing you where everything's are being tied into. And they go down here to the indicators of compromise. Now, anybody who is in InfoSec, OPSEC, anything like that, you're looking at this as like, okay, what really stands out here, right? Ping does not really stand out. No offense. A lot of tools like that do that. Regedit, most people is one of your most points or your highest point of really weirdness is someone running Regedit, right? When you start seeing that in your IOCs for your platforms, it's definitely a massive red flag. At least it is for us. RAR exe, that's another massive red flag. Unless you have a program that is actually zipping it up and, or in this case, roaring it up, then there's really no need for WinRAR at all. And it's most of the time the threat actors are just going to compress that to send it off to things like MegaShare and things of that nature. So it's really a bad thing, right? Uh, Definitely NTLS utility. For those who don't know, the command line provides management for Active Directory domain services. This tool has been used to essentially try to help leverage the infamous Kerberos golden ticket. So, when you start seeing, in my eyes anyway, from an IR standpoint, we start looking at Regedit, we're looking at WinRAR. We already know there's some snakes in the field, if you will, down here in the South. That's kind of what we say. There's some unwelcome guests in your pasture. Um, the one thing that I'm really going to get salty on a little bit here is this next line. Now, it's smart for threat actors to try to obfuscate and pretend or block communication of your security tools with the host server. Now we've seen this a lot, in the early days of malware, especially with Symantec, that you would essentially block your communication from the endpoint to the server, so it wouldn't get its updates. It wouldn't be able to say, "Hey, is this a threat? Is this not a threat?" Things of that nature, and it could do that. So by modifying that host file, it really blocks that communication with the central server. Now, I'm just going to like I said, I'm just going to say one word, so I'm going to minimize this because I want to be very, very clear when I say this. If you have an EDR, an AV, or anything else in your environment that will allow you to open and edit your host file, you're doing security wrong. I'm just telling you. Every modern EDR tool, CrowdStrike, Bitdefender's Gravity Zone, I think Blackpoint does it. I got to talk to a couple of friends. I don't have access to Sentinel-1 at the moment, but last time I checked with Sentinel-1, they don't allow host files to be modified. So if you have it in your environment, test it. Do Google at 127001. They give you a perfect example here, right? Where you could set this thing up, and they're doing this for, of course, the redacted API URL for Duo security. So if you can be able to modify that for Google, Yahoo, or whatever on your own workstation, you have a severe security issue. That is like cybersecurity 101. You don't mess with host files. That has been the trade secret of like I said, the early adopters of malware since I don't even know when, the 90s. So please, please, please don't do this, folks. Make sure you're actually going through and testing your things. Make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do and implementing it. So also go through your firewall logs if you can. If you have a syslog server, if you have any of those, thing like that, go through and check out for these IP addresses. Make sure you have not had any communication from your internal environments or your client's internal environments with these IP addresses. It could go very, very badly for you. From what I have been looking at, they did not mention it here, or if they did, I completely overlooked it. But these are the IP addresses that are remoting in to your networks, and they're doing data exfiltration too. From some of the early indicators that I'm seeing, again, this was just put out a couple hours ago. So, as with any news story, some of this information is a little fast and loose. So take it with a grain of salt, an asterisk, if you will. They do always say, or their CISO has been saying, this whole Shield Zip technical guide. Definitely go here, take a look at this. They will be updating this. They Jen Easterly and the folks over at CISA. Why I don't really, that term irks me a little bit, but if it gets the message across, let's do it, right? So, they are updating it, from folks like Sentinel-1, Broadcom, anytime they're doing a joint venture or a joint cybersecurity advisory, they're always updating this thing. They're trying to keep you, the IT practitioner, informed as much as possible. And the other one of the other links was, to be honest with you, I think this is a little redundant. If you're doing some sort of great patch management, or you're actually, invoking anything in there to actually make sure you are, doing asset management and software inventory, that you are already patching, right? There's CVEs dropping all the time, things of that nature, but CISA is at least putting this thing together so that way, you can actually do some searches here and try to see if you are, actually, patching the things that you want to do. So, and that's pretty much it. I want to thank everybody for definitely tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. These things are definitely very fast. We kind of dive in. We kind of, get to the meat of the matter. Again, I want to thank Simply Cyber for those who have tuned in. Hope to be able to do some of these more in a joint effort, and I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, y'all take care of yourselves.
There once was a kid whose passwords laid across all sites, they were the same. A criminal then found their fame by taking that data to go.
Soon may a criminal come to steal your pictures and data and run. One day when the crime is done, they'll steal your account and go.